Good evening and welcome to Powerbrief on this day. That is the fourth day of the month of November, the year 2021. A number of political developments have happened today. Ford Kenya leader Moses Wetangula has declared that he will be vying for presidency in the year 2022, and he says that his focus will be on single mothers, giving them support, moral and also physical and financial support to develop them. A lot of things have also happened. We are seeing restructuring at the KEMSA and a number of things that we are going to discuss tonight. Tonight we are joined by Mr. Mark Vivian Vincent, who is a policy and a political analyst, flanked by Mr. Philip Mwangale, who is a leadership and a governance consultant, and also Mr. Edgar Kosgei, a political and a policy analyst and an aspirant of Embakasi Central Constituency MP seat in the year 2022. My name is Cornelius Omuse, and I welcome you to this conversation as we look into the happenings of the week in the political arena and what does it imply to the country moving forward. This conversation is also live on our Facebook page, KAK TV Kenya, and YouTube is also KAK TV Kenya. Keep it here because I'm sensing some sort of fire. Mark Vincent is actually planned, is composed. Mr. Mwangale is composed, and also Mr. Edgar Kosgei is composed. What a combination tonight. Gentlemen, welcome to our show tonight.
Thank you for having us.
Sharp is the description. Everybody is looking sharp. Probably apart from myself, unless
you're also looking
you
sharp,
comment that I'm sharp.
You are looking sharp.
Many thanks. Now, straight away, we go into an event that took place today, and it's actually creating a precedent. Mr. Mwangale will talk of precedents. I know, according to what they were trained back in school, there is this issue of the military and the NYS taking over KEMSA. And a number of questions have been coming, especially our viewers have actually been asking me that, ask Mr. Mwangale, Mr. Kosgei, and also Mr. Mark Vivian Vincent, whether this move first of moving parastatals to the military is anchored on law or is supported by the law. And then two, what does it really show about the public service in the country? We begin from you, Akili.
Now, the move by the president to assign KEMSA to the military especially is adding on to the unconstitutional actions the president has piled over the last 9 years or so. Mm-hmm. The Kenya Defence Forces has only 3 roles under the constitution. Number 1 is to protect the national security from external forces, protect the sovereignty of the people, mm-hmm. and make sure that our borders are secure. Number 2, and this is where I think the president is misadvised or ill-advised. Mm-hmm. They can be deployed to support other authorities mm-hmm. in cases of emergencies and disasters. Mm-hmm. And then number 3, they can offer support, mm-hmm. Both structural support and operational support to the national police and other organs and institutions. Mm-hmm. Those 3 are the functions of the Kenya Defence Forces. Mm-hmm. To act outside those 3 functions is to assign something else that will now not be the Kenya Defence Forces. Mm-hmm. And I must also mention that it is dangerous. People may look at it as a normal exercise. I mean, because the Kenya Defence Forces is a disciplined force and you will not encounter corruption in that unit and whatnot. Mm-hmm. But you look at African countries that have tinkered with the specialized operations of their militaries. Mm-hmm. They have brought, co-opted their defense forces or their militaries into civil service. Mm-hmm. They have lived to regret. Mm-hmm. Because once you militarize civil service, mm-hmm. you create a scenario where, I mean, if a large number of those people identify that the government of the day is not serving their interests, mm-hmm. then they are well able, mm-hmm. To take over and suspend a constitution like we saw in Egypt the other day. So while it may appear as though the president is interested in services moving swiftly, mm-hmm. one of the things that he is doing mm-hmm. is covering up the mess mm-hmm. in KEMSA, because the individuals who have been involved in KEMSA are very close to the president. So when he assigns KEMSA to whatever he has assigned to, he's hoodwinking Kenyans. Kenyans will think that the president is interested in making sure that KEMSA is running, that medical supplies are reaching every person in this country. But what he's doing, he's playing a cover-up game.
Thank you. Mr. Vincent, looking at what Wakili has just given us the legal anchorage or the responsibilities constitutionally of the Kenya Defence Forces. He's given his part when it comes to legal understanding. But again, there are those ones who are having this argument that indeed the public service seems not to be doing what is right, all sectors. And therefore, they have taken these as, just as you said, an emergency, though not supported by the Constitution. Do you leave the public service to continue like that, or whatever move of involving the military is advised according to?
I think for me the key aspect, without drifting away from what my brother just said, is like the timing is too bad. The timing is too bad, and now when you're bringing military into operational, and now we are facing election period, then it's creating an atmosphere whereby like you're positioning people in a state whereby you are foretelling something that we public don't know. And so I believe the proper mechanism that we would go for would be like, is there an emergency whereby the military should be brought into service? And if there is a mess that has happened, does it mean that we lack the manpower, we lack the technocrats who can work at KEMSA? And it begs more questions than answers. And why is it now that you're bringing in the militaries? And I think we are losing the focus, and we are losing the grip of the roles and the responsibilities of the militaries in our country. Good that they are coming in, and we believe maybe we are going back to the script of Major General Mbadi, whatever he's doing with Nairobi. So I think from that script, people can say, yes, let them move. But again, the timing is bad. The timing is bad. Let the military stick to their 3 constitutional roles and let them act per that. And if there is any emergency, then they can come in as caretakers of the same, and then bring in the technocrats. But for me, as far as I'm concerned, at this particular time and point, there are so many questions and answers, and I believe I can't run away from like whatever Wakili Mwangala just said. I'm with him 100%. Now mine is just to ask the timing. Why now? Why now?
Thank you. Mr. Kosgei, looking into this situation, a bigger number of people admit that indeed there is a rot in the public service when it comes to corruption, mismanagement of these parastatals, and a lot of things that you keep on hearing every now and then. And therefore, it also brings a question. Whatever has just been said by the 2 panelists is that indeed the law wasn't followed. And then 2, also, does it mean that all avenues of salvaging these parastatals are over? Or what do you think is the best way actually to ensure that public service is streamlined? To give an example of these, most of these parastatals, you realize that even when they've given their phone number in their social media handles, when someone attempts to call, those numbers do not go through. And people complain that sometimes even when they make their way into those offices, still they're not being served. And most people who usually want to relax, they say, if I get an opportunity in the public service, then at least can be going twice a day, Friday, such a things. Yes. What do you think is the best way forward? Because apart from the government, you know, the government is employer and it employs the citizens. Citizens who go there, they're the ones who contribute. Is it a moral fabric that has actually dominated all of us? What could be the solution?
Almost the solution is not to get the military into the public service. You see, this is the face of Kenya. And just listen to their answers. There's no one who is standing on behalf of Uhuru Kenyatta in this issue. Uhuru Kenyatta, the president, His Excellency, might be trying to hide something behind that. Today, I really asked my learned friends, everyone, whether the president is right. And everyone is quoting Article 238, 239, 240 that establishes the security personnel of our country. That it has the Kenya Defense, the intelligence, and the police. And the work of the defense is stipulated in the Constitution, and it is that. it is not outside what is in the Constitution. To protect our borders, to protect our freedoms, to protect us from outside aggression. And they can be deployed in whichever way, in disaster management. You ask yourself whether there is disaster in Kemsa. You can interpret it in whichever way you want. But you asked me whether the rot can be cured in the public service. Can it be cured? Yes, it can be cured. Our leaders reflect who we are. We choose what we are. The president and the people manning the country are rotten because we are rotten. And we choose them. You hear people saying, we are choosing our own thief. We know the thief. Oh, you're telling us.
We are going to the thief.
So, Mose, the president is wrong again in doing what he's doing. But who has stood up against His Excellency the President and to tell him that he's wrong? Nelson Harvey has tried to tell the president that he's wrong. He's tried to go to court many times. But how many times will we go to court? How many times will we try to tell the president that he's wrong? Militarizing the country is wrong, and it's taking the country in a wrong direction.
Thank you very much.
Musa, if I may just add one small thing. I think we have a consensus that militarizing the public service is wrong. And that is not to say that we do not appreciate what our brothers and sisters in the KDF are doing. If the president wanted to bring in disciplined people, if he identified that everyone he knew across this country is corrupt, then let him choose members of the KDF, let them retire from active service, and then let them serve in public service, because that is what happens in other countries. If you have identified an individual who is good at his work, let them retire early and then join public service, because at this point those individuals who have been appointed are answerable directly to the president. And I can tell you, this is what the law says under the Constitution and under the KDF Act. Any deployment of the Kenya Defense Forces, including fighting aggressors outside the country, must be approved by the National Assembly. Has the National Assembly approved any of these deployments? No. And that goes also to the deployment in Laikipia. We saw KDF a unit being deployed in Laikipia. Was the National Assembly involved, and did they approve? They did not. So these kinds of actions must be stopped at the earliest opportunity.
Thank you. Now, still on that, probably before we get into serious politics, is regarding that Kosgei is in the military and then is told now to retire and come to the public service without those things. I don't know, how do you call them? And then he gets there, he meets McVivian. Vincent, just I'm using as an example. But now your power has been taken away, so they alikuwa askari. Will it still work there? Because I'm told
it will. Let me just a moment. Let me give you an example of one notable general in the U.S., Major General Colin Powell. He was the Secretary of the Joint Chief of Staff in the United States, and after that he served, in successive governments. When he had retired from active service, he still retained his rank. He still retained whatever medals he had accumulated over time. The only thing that changed was where his accountability lay. His accountability did not lay with the Chief of Defense Forces. It did not lay with the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces. It lay with the accountability mechanisms of the public service. So yes, a member from the KDF may feel as though their powers have been reduced, but that is the sacrifice that is called for in public service.
Thank you. You had something to add?
I think you just said
many thanks.
Like the ranks doesn't change. You continue being called Major General.
Major General retired.
So you remain with that. It's only that the reporting and where the processes. So who are you accountable to? Because you're no longer like in full force, in full service of military. You are now on the other side of the public service, but your ranks you still remain. That's why you see they are called Major Retired, Retired Major General, Retired Brigadier, because they don't lose that as long as you have served in that.
Many thanks on that. Now, still on the course of the week, when the president was coming from supervising some of the KDF projects, he stood at Ruiru and he said, do not elect thieves to actually come and water down the legacy of former President Kibaki and also his legacy. And then after that, I could see fire, especially on the social media, where other comments came, our thief, our choice. Others said they threw back, talking of who is this thief. Others said there are so many things that came out of it. But every time the issue of the thief comes up, Kenyans start justifying who is a bigger thief or who is not the other thief. How do we get out of this situation of, did the president mention a specific person as a thief? That is one. And two, why do we seem to really take sides even when it's clear that thievery, stealing of public funds, which is called corruption, which is actually beautified to be corruption. When it's mentioned, defense comes from all sides.
I think we are in a country whereby we have a few individuals who have the power to sanctify corruption. There are people that we have who can sanctify corruption, and that is something that we need to run away from, because if the president really knows the real thief, that thief should not be walking free. That thief should not go on the ballot paper. That thief should be facing
a thief, or is it thieves or thief?
Whatever, whether thief or a thief, whatever. I'm not basing on a grammar.
He actually said thieves.
I'm looking forward to, if this person is identified, and this statement is so heavy to come from the mouth of the head of the state, because this simply means that he knows the people who are taking this country down. And if he knows the people who are taking this country down, and he's not like making them face the full wrath of law, then he's also an accomplice. He's not better than them. Because if you know this a person is a thief, then don't let him walk freely on the streets of our nation. And if you allow this person to walk freely, even to go to the ballot paper, then it means you're an accomplice. And if you're an accomplice, then it simply means the knife that should be used on the thief is the same knife that should be used on you. So does it mean that the president is not bold enough, does not have courage, or does it mean that also the president is a partaker of the thievery?
Thank you, Mr. Vincent, on that. Mr. Mwangale, looking into it, those ones who are answering back the president who are saying of, are you a coward? Do you know that Kosgei or Mwangale has walked away with the 50 billion and then you're not acting, or what is it really the problem? Looking into this statement also, what do you bring out of it, and what does it pose even to the future generation and the leadership of this country when the head of state now throws the ball on him that Mwangale hapo ujipange because things may not be well? Was that statement, was it a lighter joke, or it's something deeper and it shouldn't repeat itself?
It wasn't a joke, it was very serious. Only that it was an issue of the kettle calling the pot black. If we list all these people in the political landscape today, none of them can actually stand. I do not know anyone who can stand and say I have not partaken of public funds irregularly or illegally. None of them can actually do that. Under our penal code, there is a category or a categorization of crimes. There is theft, there is burglary, there is robbery with violence. And what the president was attempting to do was to assign robbery with violence to somebody, yet people around him are guilty of theft, robbery, burglary, and all those things. So for the president to give those utterances, and we know what he was talking about, we know whom he was targeting. I think sometimes we have read of
myself, I don't know.
I know. I mean, the president was referring to the deputy president, and you could tell from the reactions even on social media who had come out against those utterances. So that was unfortunate in my view. I mean, yes, we know things that happen in our political landscape. We actually know who has stolen and who has not stolen. We may not have the evidence to charge those people, but we know. But for a person of the stature of the president giving this declaration, for me, amounts to incitement.
Thank you. Now I go to Kosgei. Still on this issue of prosecution, charging, and a number of things that have been happening. It now brings us to the memory of what just happened the other day when this terrorist suspect, Elgiva Bwire Oliacha, just disappeared. And we'll not go deep into that because it's a matter under investigation. There's been this claim that the judiciary has been sabotaging the executive, that even when evidence has been presented, someone has looted, when they are to be prosecuted, then they find their way out of jail. And at some point, the president actually expressed that he's being sabotaged. Could that also give him that leeway now to throw back the ball to the citizens? Sema kimeumana hapa, nyinyi mjipange. Mark Vincent is not a good man. Nimejaribu agencies to tackle him, but the judiciary has held my hands. How about that?
Allow me to stand on the side of the judiciary, because judiciary usually gives a verdict according to law. They say give sufficient evidence on the table, and then we will now go back and look at the evidence, and then we will jail someone. The prosecution goes to the judiciary without preparation. When you listen to their cases lack merit, and they go before the judiciary, and His Excellency the President comes and tells you, we have done all we can. The police are ill-prepared. They usually take political cases. They run politically and they kill a project and they take that case to court. Let me leave that on aside. The statement of the president, he said, we are not going to leave the leadership of this country to a thief. The president has no powers to leave the leadership of this country to anyone, because it is the people of Kenya who are going to vote to the people. And when the president says that, some people get scared that actually the president means it. No, it doesn't work like that. It means that your kura works, my kura works, and that one aside again. Another thing, when we were voting for His Excellency the President in the year 2013, what was he? He was before the International Criminal Court. What were the charges? Rape, murder.
You said we. That one now you...
Yeah, I'm just trying to list it for you. This guy was facing an International Criminal Court, and yet he became president. I'm done.
Thank you. Now we go for a quick commercial break. When we return, we'll be looking into issue of Musalia Mudavadi. Says that someone has been calling him at an early hours of the night, trying to cajole him or to make him vote or support a particular candidate, and many more on the political scene as it has happened on the course of this week. Keep it here on CAC TV.
Kwenye makala ya jukwaa la moderator.
Tunapojiweka mbele katika mambo yote tunayofanya, huwa tumeenda kinyume na matakwa ya Mwenyezi Mungu. Hasira moja iliyokuwa na Mungu ni kuhusu watu wanaojipenda. Kazi ya Mungu inapaswa kupewa kipaumbele. Hivyo kuna uwezekano ya kwamba tukisikiza ushauri wa Mungu kwa njia inayofaa, tutakuwa sawa kwake, sababu Mungu ana rehema na anatupenda.
Jiunge na moderator wa kanisa la PCA Mchungaji Thegu Mutahi kwa mahubiri, mafunzo na ufafanuzi wa masuala ibuka nchini, kila Jumapili ya kwanza ya kila mwezi saa 1:30 jioni. Hapa CAC TV.
Tafakari njia zako.
Karibuni. Welcome to PCMF Week 2021. This will commence from 1st to 7th of November. We are thankful to God that another opportune time has come as we share on the theme, but godliness with contentment is great gain. 1 Timothy 6 and verse 6. This is a continuation of the theme of the 23rd General Assembly, consider your ways, or give careful thought to your ways. And throughout the week, every morning we will be having morning devotions from our different parishes, from our 5 regions. We also be glad to share every evening on very key topics as we also embrace the various programs in CAC TV like Kazi na Mari, and also the Rays of Hope, where we will be capturing greatly wanaume wakiwa kazini, men at work, and also man and health through a dentist who will share with us. Karibuni.
Welcome back, and many thanks for keeping it here on Powerbrief on CAC TV tonight as we look into the political happenings of the week. And Mr. Philip Mwangale, Mark Vivian Vincent, and Mr. Edgar Kosgei are here helping us to break down some of these events and its implications in the political scene in the country as we head into the 2022 general election. Gentlemen, before we went for a commercial break, we had looked at the events as they have happened on the course of the week, regarding the KEMSA and also this issue of politicians, the judiciary, and the thief and the thieves narratives in the country. Last week we had Musalia Mudavadi in western part of Kenya, and one thing he said is that someone is calling him at night, sometimes maybe probably midnight or when he's fast asleep, to tell him vote in this particular direction. It was actually very emotional. And actually, as it was being put by the media, they were to have a meeting or political rallies on Saturday and Sunday, but they had to cancel it. And we want to look at it. Who is this person calling a person of a stature of a former deputy prime minister to warrant him to lament before the public? Most people have asked, and they really want to know, who could be this person calling Musalia Mudavadi at late hours of the night?
I think the person is the person who hosts them, and we know the only person who can host anyone at State House or in a state lodge is the president. So that could be the only person who is calling them in those hours that they are complaining of. But I do not think they are being honest with Kenyans. One of the things we must recognize is that these people are being funded by those very people they are now speaking out against. Without the resources of the president and our resources, these people will not be having this country tours they're having across at this time. Without our resources, public money, they will not have the infrastructure they're having, launching presidential campaigns left, right, and center. So I think Musalia Mudavadi and company were just saying what they think Kenyans are thinking about and what Kenyans are saying, that they do not want a president imposed on them. So they are looking for a narrative that resonates with so many Kenyans, such that now Kenyans will identify with them and gravitate towards Oka and whatever outfit will come out of that, and then say these people are going against the system, yet they are the very surrogates of the system that we are trying to fight against.
Thank you. So it could be a psychological game. We still remain on that, Mr. Vivian Vincent. Yesterday we had the Political Parties Tribunal directing the Ford Kenya Party not to host or to hold an NDC today at the Bomas of Kenya due to the wrangles between the Wamunyinyi camp and Wetangula camp. But when we woke up early in the morning, the NDC happened. We had leaders there. Someone was shot there, is receiving treatment. And this now still brings the question that in this country, who obeys what, when, how?
And maybe before I go to Wetangula, I want to maybe disagree very gently with my brother here about Mudavadi. I think what Mudavadi is trying to do to us is he wants to join the president but he's trying to pass a message that even if I go, no, there's somebody who is calling me. I'm not just going there voluntarily. There's somebody who is taking me there. So when you see me in that camp, no, I received a call. These are the same people who said, and the other time, it's on record, that Raila told them to switch off their phone and is going to call them. And they literally switched off their phone, and Raila was to call them when he's in Nigeria. My friend, these are the same people. These are jokers. These are jokers. The man is a joker. I tell you how. I tell you, because switch off your phone, I'm going to call you. And then
From Nigeria.
very boldly you switch off your phone, and then you come back to the public complaining that I was told to switch off my phone. Today again, my friend, you know the person who is calling you. And even if this person calls you, there is no single day you have objected to go after being called. So you, my friend, he's just telling us, this guy is telling us, if you see me in the other camp, no, I received that call. As simple as that.
So it's
that call, and you see, the problem is they're not telling, they're just telling about a phone call. They're not telling you about what went in maybe in their bank account, what amount of money they received. My friend, they're not telling you. They're not telling you. They're not telling you if they received that brown envelope. They're just telling you a phone call. And my friend, they don't tell you that if there is a reflect of M-Pesa. No, going back to Wetangula and the crew. This is not the first time for Kenya having these rumbles. It's not the first time. And we are looking into parties, and these are the parties that need to be to give us a president and become leaders of this nation. If the same parties, they are not following law and order, then how will they give us leaders who are going to steal the same law and order? I go back to what Kosgei said. We are a true reflection of the leaders we bring into power. If a political party cannot follow law and order, cannot obey a court order, then that tells you the members of that party, the leadership of that party does not deserve to lead this country. They don't deserve to tell us anything in leadership, anything as far as law. Then that's a group of an outlaw. They're crooked people that they don't even deserve anything. I think that for me, I don't have a better word to describe them, because a party should follow the court orders, and if party follows law and order, the court order that has been given there, then it tells you that we have sober leaders in this party, and it can give us a presidential candidate. If they can't do that, and again, parties have been turned to be like cash cow, and right now we are going into election. We have so many parties, not because they have an agenda, not because they have a clear frame of stipulating what the Kenyans want and to take Kenyans forward. What they're there is, these are cash cow, and if I'm like the chairman of this party, then I become a principal, I'm going to on the negotiation table, I'm going, my bank account is going to increase, and then this becomes, they are brokers, they are the kingpin of brokers, they are chief brokers.
Thank you. Now, Kosgei, still on this issue, from what has come from Mr. Mwangale and Mr. Vincent, is that it seems the political class or the leaders of various political parties, the so-called principals or kingpins and queenpins, as you call them in politics, they seem to be aligning themselves, or they seem, all of them, to be drawing from the same pot, including the deputy president himself, because if today probably you asked him his security when he went to Western Kenya, if it was a private security or government security, we'll be telling each other in a short while. He'll still tell you I'm still in office. And these ones, even in opposition, what is coming out from our panelists tonight and some of the evidence is that they're drawing again from the same pot. That has happened, and all of them seems to have gone to the same direction. But what does it tell about the other political class? Yourself being part of them, because you're going to vie as a member of parliament. Do you also join that? Or you could place yourself in such a positions as that one of Malema in South Africa, just as we are having behind the scenes discussion with Mr. Mwangale, and then the community, especially the youth and the rest, could see that Kosgei is struggling with his motorbike. We think he's the best option. Do you also join them, or there's a way you can also come up with a new approach?
There are two sides to it. I'll take an example of that person who campaigned using his bicycle. Remember? Yeah, he went to parliament once and he didn't come back. And also there is this side where the government is trying to force an agenda into Kenyans. I want to ask my countrymen that since the president has decided to help Raila Odinga, let us all help Raila Odinga and make these phone calls. If Mudavadi is going to pick phone calls, please, people, call Mudavadi to go to State House. Because why? We want to help Raila become president. And Kenyans, Raila might not be the president without Mudavadi. No, I'm just advising Kenyans.
I know that's politics.
Because why would you get people calling them into State House to convince them to have an OCA, a BBI version 2, to run against the deputy president? Kenyans hate people who are supported by the incumbent, the projects of the government. This is killing Raila very fast. And this is messing up with Raila's camp. And he doesn't know. When I walk in Kisumu or in whichever place, they usually tell me, now today Raila has the system. Today Raila, we are taking this thing. Nonsense.
Thank you. Now, we still come into that, Mr. Mwangale and Mr. Vincent, regarding Raila's journey. We are almost going to Ruto because we are looking into the political happenings of the week. In today's dailies, we had a place where they had indicated around 4 probable running mates for Raila from the Mount Kenya region. And political pundits or analysts are looking at it and they say now, if at all we have Raila getting a running mate from Mount Kenya, and bearing in mind that the BBI didn't go through, what does it really imply into his political destiny or bargaining as we move forward?
First, just if you may allow me just to comment on Wetangula's launch today. Moses Wetangula is threatening to vie for president again. I think he has been in the business of threatening to run for office. And I think if I may classify Honorable Wetangula, he is the patron of the milk-card politicians from Western Province. I'll leave it at that. When it comes to the issue of running mates and Raila Odinga, anyone, and I've mentioned this before on this show, anyone who will be supported by Uhuru Kenyatta in 2022 will lose terribly. So if Uhuru Kenyatta is supporting you, please, you better put your money in some investment somewhere and not waste it in a campaign, because you will lose. Kenyans are tired with whoever has superintended over the ills that have happened in this government and the economic morass that we find ourselves in. And they will make sure that whoever is supported by the president will lose. So if Raila Odinga, even if he decides to choose 5 running mates at once, so long as he's supported by Uhuru Kenyatta, he will still lose, and that vote will not count. One of the things, and this is a reality in Mount Kenya today, you do not have one specific individual who is able to command a following. The other day we saw Waiguru moving to UDA. I think, in my view, Waiguru is a liability to UDA. Any other individual who will come in will only be bringing a small basket to whoever they will be moving to. So for me, Mount Kenya might say they want to be on the negotiating table, they want a running mate position, but I think Moses Kuria came close to appreciating reality, and when he was demanding 40% of government position. I think they should now start bargaining from that point. But the position of running mate, I think that would be a non-starter. If either of these individuals go that direction, then they risk the rest of the country ganging up against that individual.
Thank you. Let's also hear from Mr. Vincent regarding these arithmetics, because the other time Raila had a running mate from 2 times from Lower Eastern, that is Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka, and in 2013 he was together with the principal Moses Wetangula, and there were 3 of them actually, and then 2017 you understand the mathematics on how it was. So there is this view that he has to get a running mate from Mount Kenya. How does it now, what does it portray to his bid as far as the hustler?
For me, my view will be different. Maybe I'll tell you, anybody who's going for the presidency will have to bring in somebody from Mount Kenya, whether Ruto or Raila. That's my personal view. Because and again, you realize, because we are used to the other guys, and you know them, I don't have to mention them. For them, just the way Mwangala say, these are the milk-cart politicians. They don't really go to bargain for that power. they go to bargain for their stomach. But realize when you go to Mount Kenya, they don't just bargain for their stomach. They always want to have somebody there, and they are really focused on that. So I think that gives them a foot, 1 foot ahead of the others, and realize right now it's a game of catch and wait, or wait and catch, whereby the camp of Ruto, the camp of Raila, and I've heard also Wetangula is also vying. Each one of them is going to wait and see where is the running mate coming from. And if this guy is getting a running mate from this region, how am I going to make sure that I also get a running mate who is going to counter this one? So I believe, as far as I'm concerned, we realize people are feeling if you have Mount Kenya, then you are the next president. So I think it's arithmetic that people are making their own calculation, and Mount Kenya has always placed themselves in the stable position. But right now, and I won't run away from what Mwangala really said, that whoever that is coming in is not like previous years that, you know, if you get this person, you have like Mount Kenya with you. You may have even maybe one one county and the others are not with you. So I believe it's something that we want to say time will tell. Because when the defining moment comes, if you don't define the moments are defining you. And we are getting there sooner than later. That who is going to be there? Because right now you realize the people that you could have thought they're going to be like the running mate, people like Peter Kenneth, they're now the people who are now like the chief campaigners of Raila. People like they are now like chief campaigners. So you wonder, who is this person? Like it was perceived that maybe Waiguru will be a running mate on the other side. Now he's on the other side, and definitely I agree with him 100%. On the other side is a liability. It's not like he has not come like with people. So I believe we are being faced in a scenario whereby the majority of politicians are going into this alliance with their stomach, not with their people, with their kingpin. So it's going to be interesting time.
Thank you.
For us.
This one now takes us straight away to the Hustler Nation, because tonight is the political happenings of the week, with a focus on every political happenings that has actually hit the deadlines of our media. Deputy President William Ruto is moving around the country and launching something dubbed, I don't know whether it is in quotes or it's true, because Gay will tell us in a short while, called empowerment projects. Last week he was in Busia County, and this week again he's back to Bungoma, and he's even gone back to Busia County. And in all these meetings, it is said from what happens in those meetings that he gives out 1 million Kenya shillings, 2 million, and all that. Now the question is coming out first is the source of these funds. That does he fund this money from his own pocket, or is it public money from probably a particular vote in the government? And if so, how is it anchored in the law that you can now give a group 1 million shillings from government coffers? Beginning from Mr. Mwangale, as a leadership and a governance consultant, having observed Ruto's modus operandi when it comes to these projects.
First, I would say that what is being touted as empowerment is not necessarily empowerment, because this is just a band-aid. Across the country, you meet this organization, this group, give them money. That is not permanent. I think what that would do, the only thing that it does is to, galvanize support and, youth feeling that this is a person who cares. But when it comes to permanent solutions, that is not a permanent solution to unemployment. It's not a permanent solution to, runaway policy from government. On the issue of, and again, that cements, the handout culture that we've had. It's only that, people have been used to smaller handouts, 500 shillings, 250 shillings. Now Ruto has come in with a large cash out. It's no longer a small handout. That is the only difference. When it comes to where the money is coming from, I think there is consensus as to how this money was acquired. I do not think it is a government vote that is being used. In fact, if you look at projects, and this is one of the unfortunate things about our politics. The other day I was in Eldoret, And there is a bypass that was being constructed from between the airport and Eldoret town, and that bypass stalled. It was being constructed very fast. No, there's another one that is closer to the airport. It stalled. And it stalled at the same time that projects in the backyard of the deputy president also stalled. Money was withdrawn. So there's no money that is coming from government going specifically to Ruto's campaign. That money is coming from his own machinations.
Thank you. Mr. Kosgei, still looking into that, what Mwangala said about the dubbed empowerment projects and the source of funds, and probably the long run, what does this really portend to our economics? Because sometimes people say Rutonomics, Railanomics, and all that. Something like that.
Yes. But first, allow me to comment on the deputy president. You skipped me. I had a point, and I had my friends talking about picking advice from the mountain. I'd like to differ with them a bit. That you really have to go to the mountain to pick a DP. I'm Kalenjin, and I have authority to talk about this. The first president was Kikuyu, the second Kalenjin, Kikuyu, and then it is Kalenjin. When you see that matrix, there's going to be Kalenjin Kikuyu. It's going to be another Kalenjin Kikuyu affair again. In fact, when William Ruto was running for president, he was told, Mkale Mungine 10. You know, now, in trying to remove this, there has to be someone from a minority of the tribes in Kenya. Just a minority of the tribes. Number two, the leadership of Kenya should never be about big people. It should be also about small people. Talk about Kawanjiku in Kiamba. And again, we have to see a woman also as the deputy president after that. A woman has to be at the helm at the next election. Otherwise, when you think we are Luos, we need Kikuyus on the mountains, you're lost. And that is what those guys are losing on the other side. With Baronomics. William Ruto is championing a model called bottom-up. Giving resources and money to the person to create something for himself, and then he will pay taxes. What he's doing now is giving money from his pocket. And that money from his pocket is not even enough. When he gives $1 million to a population of 100,000 people, it is a drop in the ocean. So what he's saying is this. He's saying when he gets to presidency, the constituency has 5 wards. Those 5 wards are given 100 million. Come up with 50 groups. Get everyone 250,000 shillings. Come up with something so that you can create jobs for yourselves and so that you can build yourself. I agree with him totally. In the hierarchy of needs, in the pyramid, the bottom one is food. Food. Kenyans right now don't have food. If I give you
all Kenyans,
man,
in particular on that,
let me tell you, we might be in ties. Whatever is happening in this country is terrible. So when you give people money like this, you become a savior. That's why the immediate solution is to provide liquid capital.
Thank you. Let's hear from Mr. Vincent also.
Yes.
Yes.
You realize we are talking about DPs giving people 1 million shillings. Do you know when that 1 million comes on the table, how many people are getting the share? How many people?
Maybe
when it is divided, you realize people are getting 3,000, 5,000. We are treating symptoms, not the real disease. We are treating symptoms, not the real disease. Let us be. We have been turned a nation whereby when election period comes, we are reduced to people who follow the politician vehicle. We run on our feet to follow a politician so that you can go home with 1,200 shillings. We have lost focus. We have lost everything. So when you talk about empowerment, we should not be waiting until election period where now you start moving around giving people handouts in the name of development. And I think it is not just about Ruto. It's about every other politician who is out there. And that's what you see, because Dehi wants to vie in Embakasi. Trust me, young people will not rally behind Kosgei because he's a fellow young man. They're going to see what he's going to give. We need to change that. Let them know that Kosgei is coming to us with a vision. He's coming to us with ideas and ideology, and when we sit down with Kosgei, even if he's not going to give us $1 million on the table, the ideas that he has, he can take us somewhere and then build Embakasi the way we want. But right now, the precedent that you are setting is that somebody should be coming with big money. It should not be like that. Should be, and you see, that's why I say we are focusing people who don't have a future in their hands. They may start looking at what is the size of your television instead of asking what the size of your vision for us as Embakasi. How many millions are you putting us on the table? Instead of asking what kind of structure that you have, what kind of ideas, what is the roadmap are you going to use to take us there, Kosgei? But right now we are being overshadowed by everybody going, and trust me, and this one I've been telling young people in the slum, many people are right now running to UDA. Because they think because they are in UDA, Ruto is dishing out money, he has money. They think, my friend, they think that Ruto is going to give them money and run. My friend, it's high time that we ignore the money politicians are giving out. It's high time to ignore running after vehicles and follow people with visions.
Thank you so much. Now, our parting shots, I'll begin from Mwangale. High Court sitting in Eldoret has finally given IBC green light to actually terminate the process of massive voter registration. And mathematically, it is said that so far, they have not even gotten to 1/32 of the target that they had before. And a number of projectors are saying that this could be showing what is really going to happen when we are going to elections, that there is that apathy, people have given up, and when you give up, what follows next? Then you die and then you get buried. A word to Kenyans, those that are supposed to vote, and those that are supposed to participate in any civic duty. In as much as they're saying the country has sunk too low or so low, but do you tell them now, when you give up, what next?
What I would tell Kenyans is this, that you do not have the luxury of not participating in government through electing representatives. The struggles, the hardships that you are going through right now will be turned a notch higher if your voice is not reflected on the ballot. You should turn that hardship, you should turn those struggles into momentum that pushes the right people into office. But if you sit back, then it means that the very people you are angry against, the very people who have not delivered, are likely to get back into office, and even more of those people getting into office. So register and vote. If IBC gets into the second exercise in January, let us make sure that our voice is heard right from the ballot.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mwangale. Kosgei, regarding this issue, what do you have to tell people?
Well, today when I was coming here, I met someone outside and I asked him, so, unapigana ni kura? I was like, wow, for me, elections, kura now. Said, my children should eat, I should sleep. You see this guy in the nation? This is where it is not about telling people, did you wake up, go and vote. There's a bigger problem on the ground. And people don't even care about politics. People don't care about numbers. I was in Kisumu and I asked someone from Kisumu, so, how are you doing? So are you seeing? They said, no, we have the system. Are we going to vote? Now.
Thank you.
Interesting things in the country.
Vincent, in
my call to fellow young people in Kenya, my simplest call is, I know we have been voting and things have been happening, but never get tired of voting. Because bad leaders are voted in by good people like you and me who don't turn to vote. Never give up. Aluta continua. Never throw your right of voting, and never get tired. Wake up early in the morning, get your vote, voting that leader. It doesn't matter the outcome, but one thing you never regret, that you went out there and exercised your voting right, because I know the time is coming and the time is now, that when your defining moment comes, if you don't define the moment will define you, either harshly or very politely. So we have a call. And I know as young people we are here, Kosgei, let us go down there. Let us encourage our fellow young people. It doesn't matter who become the president. What matters, did you participate in casting your vote? Did you participate in making that choice?
Many thanks, Vincent. That is Mr. Edgar Kosgei, a political aspirant for Embakasi's Central constituency, flanked by Mr. Philip Mwangale, leadership and governance consultant, and Mr. Mark Vivian Vincent, who is a policy and political analyst. From your comments, you all concurring that this has been one of the best combinations tonight, because besides giving their opinions, they have also given a way forward on how the country can come together in addressing a number of challenges that are facing our issues to do with politics. We appreciate your comments, which I may not read here because they keep us going and also on improving our conversations. On behalf of all those who made this production a success, I wish you a very good night. For me, Cornelius Omuse, till next Thursday, God willing, I wish you a very good night.